Welcome to Commander's Comments. I'm your producer for the evening, Harrison. Without further ado, here is our Chief of Heritage Operations, Mr. Ron Kennedy.
Thank you, Moose. We appreciate it. I know you are working hard there, keeping this operation going. We're here to, again, with the commander's comment with the most important person, not Moose, who is probably the second most important person, but the most important person, our Commander-in-Chief, Commander Jason Boshers, who has been a super busy character. I know that he's tired of talking to lawyers and all with everything we've had going on, but thankfully that's not all he's been doing. So I'm going to turn this program over to our Commander-in-Chief, Jason Boshers, and ask him to tell us what's been going on since the last time we met.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to come on during this time. I want to thank everybody for coming in and taking time out of their busy schedule to watch Commander's Comments. We appreciate y'all coming and visiting and learning what is going on with SCV National. As you know, one of the things that, and I've heard it the entire time, people say, well, we never know what's going on at National. Well, I'm going to go ahead and apologize because now you've seen me twice this week. You saw me on Monday night on SCV Chat with Ed Phillips, who is the national spokesperson, and he's also the lead attorney with the Sons of Confederate Veterans lawsuit concerning the Arlington Reconciliation Memorial. And so you're getting me 2 times in 1 week. Getting into business, as y'all know, we've had some weather to come through. Florida, they had a hurricane come through. Talked to some people from southern Florida, and wasn't much damage there, just some wind. I talked to some people up in the Big Bend area, and they were without power. They had a lot of trees down, and they were been working to get that back up. Talked to people on the East Coast around the Jacksonville area, and they had some wind. I don't think it was anything very, very damaging, but as you know, we also had a lot of flooding as it come up and went through the rest of the country. I wanted to remind everybody of that because I wanted to remind everybody of the SCV Relief Fund. This is Brother Helping Brother. This is something you can go to the scv.org website, go to the Relief Fund, contribute some money to it, and that way these people who have suffered disasters, I think we have been fairly lucky with Idalia. I know that there is supposedly a great big one that is stirring out there now, and right now the path is showing that it is not going to make landfall in the U.S. As you know, these things have a tendency to change their mind. They could always start to develop a new pattern, as they say. But as of right now, we're just in the peak of hurricane season. And as you know, we can have them pop up in the Gulf. And if they pop up in the Gulf, they're going to hit anywhere from Texas to Florida. And, we have a lot of members in these areas. And if you have a few bucks and you're wondering what you can do to help out our membership, that's one of the things that you can do. Because if these people who have had a loss, we had the tornadoes that come through Tennessee and Kentucky last year, in which some people had complete and total losses. They barely survived. They were, if it hadn't been for those underground bunkers, in one particular case, we would have lost a member, his wife, and the family, because they all went in one of those underground bunkers. And other than that, they had a total loss. And they petitioned the SCV Relief Fund, and they were given some money to be able to start getting back on their feet. And they were getting given resources because the word spread out. And our members, being Southerners, they have a very loving and giving heart. And they see a fellow Southerner in trouble, they're going to show up and they're going to help. So y'all keep the SCV Relief Fund. Yes, sir, Mr. Kennedy.
I just wanted to comment that, yes, we are kith and kin. We tend to help each other. That's part of our responsibility. And doing a research for my book that I'm working on now, I ran across where the people of Kentucky during Reconstruction, when they found out how impoverished and starving the people of Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi were, the people of Kentucky got up and they collected hundreds of bushels of corn and other grain and shipped it down to their fellow Southerners. And, you know, people say, well, Kentucky's not part of the Confederacy. I got news for you. It is. And it was, it is, and it always will remain. But that's the kind of people we have. And it's in our blood. It's part of our history. It's part of our heritage. And this fund that we have to help in these tragedies that occur is very important. And, you know, I would love to be able to go out and help sandbag a place that's trying to flood, but I would be in the way, you know. But yes. I can give $25, $30 to this relief fund to help out. So please be a Southerner, as we always have. Look after kith and kin. And it's not a matter of skin color or you're, you know, I'm Irish and you're Hispanic. No, we're Southerners.
We're Southerners. Everybody stay Southern. How about that?
Amen.
Y'all folks are going to be in for a treat tonight, because I'm going to tell you a few things you're either going to really want to hear or really wish you didn't hear. If we were at National Reunion, you saw our membership totals. Our membership totals in July were 28,000, nearly 29,000. As you know, at the end of July, dues are due. And we always give August out a grace period for dues to come in. As of today, only 17,000 dues have been paid. Now, this is about where we were last year and about where we are every year. Now, what this means is that everybody pays late, or about half of our membership pays late. Now, you might think, now, I sent my dues in and I sent them in the last week of August. Now, remember, they were due in July, and you sent them in the last week in August. That number means the ones that haven't been processed. Now, remember, we have a part-time staff that processes our memberships. Now, Eric Pavedi is our membership coordinator, and he is a full-time employee. And we have 3 part-time employees that handle memberships. And I was in there yesterday, and I was in there today. And the stack of memberships for all of them to go through is just like this. So in the month of August, a majority of our memberships come in. And I know people saying, well, it's not late until the end of August, but it's due in July. Now, this means that right now that they're still processing dues. And by the time they get everybody's dues processed, and let's say if we have 16,000 people that have paid right now and we have 28,000, there's another 12,000 dues they're going to need to be processing over the next couple of weeks, but it will take months. This is one of those things when we're asking people to go ahead and get their dues in. I understand people needing to wait or wanting to wait, but this is one of those times that, you know, I asked Adam before I come on here, I said, send me the membership numbers. And of course, when he sent them to me, him and I went back and forth a little bit, and he said, this is every year. Every year when we get right after dues and right after the late dues, that's when everything comes in, is right at the last minute. So, and I say that because there have been some people that have been calling HQ and trying to reach people. And right now, everybody's processing dues, because right now it's all hands on deck to process dues, because everybody 10,000 people, 12,000 people sent their dues in the last couple of weeks. So it's going to take a while to get them all processed. And everybody be patient. We're working with HQ staff. This is just what happens when everybody waits to the last minute and everybody tries to go through the same gate at the same time. So be patient, and think about when you get your dues statement, your MRS statement, to go ahead and send it in. Now, some of you are going, I did. And the camp adjutant has held on to them until the last week of being late, not the last week of July, but the last week of August, to keep from being late. So he only has to send one check, and he's collected everybody's dues, and he can send everybody's dues in. It's still the same effect. So camp adjutants, division commanders, brigade commanders, talk to the camp adjutants, please. I mean, I use Salesforce. I'm a camp adjutant for Sam Watkins Camp 29. Paying national dues is easy with Salesforce. You know, what I would do is I'd sit down on Monday night in SCV chat, the Monday night I'm not on, and I would sit there and watch SCV chat and pay national dues. It's that easy. You can sit there and watch TV and use Salesforce and pay national dues. The only check I had to send was to the Tennessee Division adjutant for Tennessee Division dues, but that's a separate issue. Getting national paid was very easy. You just sit down and do it online. It really is a piece of cake. And I'd like for everybody to start thinking about that for next year, because right now we're looking at a huge stack of dues that have come in. Now, if they were postmarked August 31st, you're still good. Okay? They were postmarked August 31st, you're good. Just remember that they were due in July. So now let's talk about some other issues that we had, and this is another reason why I bring it up. Go ahead, Mr. Kennedy. You wanted to say something.
I was just going to make the comment, and I think that may be where you was leading into, that if everybody waits to the last moment to send them in, or if the camp adjutant waits to the last moment, literally last moment in August to send it in, that's going to be tough enough, because you got this cattle gap effect,
Yes.
of sudden a huge just wave coming into the camp to the headquarters. But what if you have a glitch like with the post office, and there's a problem that's beyond anybody's response, no one's fault, but all of a sudden now I've got something else ladled on top to this huge block of dues that should have been paid earlier. Do you have that problem?
Yes, sir. There have been other things that happen. Now, there's two instances that have gone beyond a division's control. One of them was in Louisiana. And Louisiana, because they were a month late getting their MRS statements out, because who was printing and mailing their MRS statements could not get envelopes. That is not the division's fault. That is not the member's fault. And there's another 1 month grace period for Louisiana to get their dues in on time, because they were late, extremely late going out, over a month late going out. And it doesn't seem fair to the members to go, okay, well, the printing company couldn't get envelopes, so it's going to cost you another $5. That's not right. That's just not right. So you give them the 30-day grace period, because they were a month late. We'll run it a month late. And another instance where it was a problem with getting them printed in Texas, because when the list had got sitting in, it had names and addresses that were not matching up. They were sorted in an incorrect order. And so you had, okay, let's just say that me and Mr. Kennedy here are both from Texas, and he's from Texarkana and I'm from Amarillo. Okay. I'm getting his due statement. That was what was happening to all of this. So we don't think that's the membership's fault as well. And it's not right to ask the Texas Division boys to cough up another $5 because there was a problem sorting when they went to print the MRS statements and the names and addresses got messed up. That kind of stuff happens, but that's the exception to the rule and not the rule. Tennessee's went out on time, and they went out to the addresses best that the Tennessee Division Adjutant had. I didn't say they were all perfect because people have to keep their addresses updated. But if they'd kept their addresses updated, it went out. So there is no grace period there. But if there's something that happens that is outside of the arena, I don't feel like, and nobody, I don't think any of us feel like membership ought to be punished for something that happens outside of their control. Now, if you just put it on the kitchen counter or the table by the door and you forget to pay it, that's another $5. And that's just the way that is. So, but I wanted to talk to everybody about that. And so, as you can see, when we talk about dues coming in slow, they're coming in slow. But they have picked up in the last 2 weeks. It seems like half of our membership sent their dues in the last week, 2 weeks of August. We'll take a moment here because I would like for Mr. Kennedy to talk about an event him and I and his brother and a few other people attended in Texarkana, Texas.
Yeah,
would you like to do a recap of the ATM workshop, sir?
We had a great meeting in Texarkana, and I wanted to give a shout out to the Red Diamond Camp for hosting it. I know J.C. Hanna had a lot to do with it, of course, but also the Red Diamond Camp who hosted the event. The ladies that were with the Red Diamond Camp, they did a great job, and it was kept on time. We started on time. We had our breaks on time. We ate on time. We finished up on time. So it was really a smooth running event. I wanted to, again, these training session, it was the ATM workshop training session. I was able, as a chief of Heritage Promotion, to talk about the things that we've got lined up to do. And I'm going to talk about, if we have time later on, a few ideas I've got percolating for Confederate History Month coming in April. But we were able to talk, and my twin brother was there. Not quite as good looking as me, but we'll let that slide. But really, the key to these training sessions is, first of all, the camaraderie. That's always great to get a chance. You get a chance to ask the people who should be in the know what's going on with this, or why is this not happening, or what's been done. That's great. That's great for communication. But the high point, as far as I'm concerned, for all the members is when Eric Pervetti does his thing to show everyone, if you're having any trouble, he can, and he goes live. So he's on the website. You got a problem, Ron Kennedy? I have a problem. I don't know why my such and such. And he can actually, what's your membership number? Well, all right, I'll call you up here. I'll look at it and actually walk you through on the screen so you'll know it. Plus, everybody else in the audience will know. A great training session, a great asset we have from the headquarters. And of course, our Commander-in-Chief gave us a good rah-rah on what's going on, what's the National is doing. These training workshops of the armies are very, very important. I hope that we can get more participation. And I know Texarkana is a long way from New Orleans. I know that because I had to make it, it was 5.5 hours to my brother's and then another 2 hours or so from his house on up to Texarkana. So I know it's a long way. And we had folks from Texas, but we also had a gentleman from Arizona who made it. So, high five to him for making it. We had folks from Missouri there. A real great opportunity, training session, a chance for camaraderie, get a lot of questions answered, asked a lot of questions, if you want to complain, well, here we are. We're the officers, national officers. We were elected, and that's part of the baggage we carry. If you got a complaint, let us know. I'd rather for you to walk up to me face to face and say, Ron, I don't like what you're doing with X, Y, and Z. But don't just tell me that you don't like it. Give me some alternatives. Constructive criticism is so important. So don't just say, Ron, I don't like what you're doing, X, Y, Z. I think it would be better if you would try, or have you thought about this? So it's not criticism, it's constructive criticism. And God knows I need a lot of constructive criticism. The reason I know it because my wife tells me all the time. But anyway, it was a great meeting, and everybody got back home safely. So I do appreciate the opportunity to bring everyone up to date. And I'm looking forward to the next one. I believe will probably be in Tennessee, but we'll talk about that later down the line.
Yeah. And yes, sir, I just want to echo what you said. They did a really good job. Phil Maynard, Red Diamond Camp, all the ladies that stepped in, and they just did a fantastic job. Congratulations to them. It was well organized. It was well run. A lot of information was out there, and kudos to all of the speakers, and nothing against the Kennedys and all of the other speakers, but Eric Pravetti's program, because we worked it to where he could go and talk longer. He went for a little over 2 hours, and somebody with that kind of knowledge, and he can, in 2 hours working one-on-one with a group of people, you're going to get a lot of hands-on experience. And while we're talking about that, and you're talking about this stuff in the future, I'm going to ask everybody to go ahead and get their calendars out and get a pen and a piece of paper handy, because we're going to start talking about some events coming up in the very near future. Yes, sir, Mr. Kennedy.
I just glanced up and saw Carl Jones wanting to know who won the bologna. I know it was a young boy, probably one of the youngest members we had, and I don't remember his name.
Give me a minute. I don't know if his last name was Wood or Woods, but I remember his first name was Levi. Now, I do remember Levi because I've got a very good friend whose kids, Levi, and they're about the same age, so I could put them together. But I don't know if his last name was Wood or Woods. And he was a young boy. Yeah. And it was cool him winning that bologna, because they just, they marched up and presented it to him. And it was awesome.
Like a major presentation, this big tube of bologna. I mean,
I'm kind of hungry. I wouldn't mind some of that bologna. I went over to that boy. Can I cut off a chunk of it? And yes, but everybody get your pen and piece of paper and your calendars out, because we're going to talk about some events for next year. Actually, right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump on farther down. Yes, we work from a list. I always work from a list so I can halfway stay on track. If I don't have this list, I'm going to go all over the place. I'm going to run every rabbit within a 100-mile radius. But we're going to start with what is left up with this year concerning the days that the Southern Heritage Center, which is what we name the entire 80-acre property that has the National Confederate Museum and Historic Elm Springs on it, is going to be open this coming Saturday, September 9th. Okay. It's going to be open October the 7th. That is also the day of the GEC meeting. Then it's going to be open November 11th for Veterans Day. And if you are a veteran, you are admitted for free. And then it's going to be open December the 2nd, which that is the first weekend in December. That is the home tours, and you will be able to come out and you'll be able to buy a ticket, go through the museum, go through the home, plus go all over Murray County and see all the other historic homes and churches within Murray County. So that's going to take you up when Elm Springs is going to be open through the rest of this year. And I know there's some events that's going to be coming up through the end of this year, but let's start talking about the national events for next year. We're going to begin in February with the Stephen D. Lee Institute. It's February 16th and 17th. 16th is on a Friday night. We're going to be hosting an event at the museum in Elm Springs on Friday night, so you'll be able to come there. On Saturday, we'll be hosting it at a conference, the Institute at the Memorial Building, which is right across from the James K. Polk home. Now, a lot of people are asking about hotels. There's a flyer that's out there. I know Moose has a copy of it because I've already seen him pop it up on SCV chat and a few other places. That's telling you the speakers. Now, there's a whole list of hotels. Now, first of all, a lot of people who've come to Elm Springs, they're used to staying at the Richland Inn. And that's the motel that is very close to Elm Springs, and it's right there in the Legends parking lot, the restaurant. Yes, sir, there it is. And then you have another one, which is just a mile and a quarter down the road called the Baymont Inn. That's right across from a strip mall and right by an Applebee's. But where most people are staying, or most people have asked me about staying, is out at Exit 46. Exit 46 is about a 13, 15-mile drive from Exit 46 off I-65 to Elm Springs. It's not a hard drive, but there's a whole lot of very nice hotels out there, from a Holiday Inn Express to a Hampton Inn. There's a lot of restaurants out there since it is an interstate exit, and it is a great place. If anybody that wants to come, you can stay at any of those hotels. List of hotels should be out there on the website. If not, we'll be getting the list out there. We have some more things that we're working on and updating, and all of that will be out very shortly. But this is a save the date for February 16th and 17th for the Stephen D. Lee that is going to be held in Columbia, Tennessee. The next is March 16th, and that is the Alabama Education Conference. It's going to be held in Wetumpka, Alabama at the Southern Culture Center. Now, if you want to know a little bit more information about that, I understand next Thursday, the Army of Tennessee Commander and Councilman are going to be on, and these are the two men that are going to be ramrodding this Alabama Education Conference. But this is to put it out there so you know the dates. It's going to be date of March 16th. Those are your list of speakers. Oh, my goodness, we got Kennedy twins. And that David Banner, I have heard him a couple of times. And then there's Ryan Walters. I've heard him a few times. And Tom Daniel, I believe, has spoken there at one of their last ones. They haven't had one now since, I think the last one they actually had was like 2018 or 2019. But it says so on that flyer. But the date's out there. Go and write it down. Be prepared to talk to the Army of Tennessee Commander and Councilman. Commander is Jimmy Hill. Councilman's Carl Jones. And they can fill you in on all of the details going with that. Then the next event is going to be the Pilgrimage and Homecoming, which is always the first Saturday in May, which is this year, May the 4th. And it is going to happen there on the grounds of Elm Springs. But there's something very special that's going to be happening during that time as well. We have the service, and the service starts at 11, in which, that's the pilgrimage and the homecoming, where we have the speakers and we lay the wreaths and the floral arrangements. But what's happened is Army of Tennessee Commander Jimmy Hill, and you can talk to him about this next Thursday, is going to be hosting an Army of Tennessee workshop there. Now, we're going to be hosting it. He's going to be hosting it inside Elm Springs, the conference center in Elm Springs, the conference room. Now, that holds 65 people. So if you want to be part of this, it's going to be just the first 65 people that's going to be allowed to do this. But you can still come to the pilgrimage and homecoming. But let's just say if you're going to be there, hey, why don't I sign up and come to the Army of Tennessee workshop? We're going to start it at, I think Jimmy told me, and Jimmy, please correct me, we're going to start at 9 o'clock. We're going to run from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. We'll have the service. After the service, they'll be providing the lunch. We'll be providing the lunch. Then we'll finish up the afternoon workshop. But that is, the Army of Tennessee workshop is going to be held at Elm Springs and during the pilgrimage and the homecoming. So come on out. You're going to get to enjoy the Elm Springs for the entire day. And I want to thank Jimmy for coming up with that idea. I think it's a great idea to get more people there and to get more people interested. Because one of the things that we face the most is when we host these national events, and of course we've done Stone Mountain numerous times, and there's a lot of people that honestly can't afford to come, can't take off work. They can't be gone that long. It's going to cost them. They have to take a week's vacation to be able to come to Stone Mountain, or 4 or 5 days, 3 days vacation. So they don't get to do it. And same thing with the pilgrimage and homecoming. Our numbers have been off a little bit, and we realize, because it is there, you're always going to get the same group of people out of it that's going to come visit it. So I was thinking about it and kind of come up with the idea of having a national event in each of the armies. And I approached Army of Trans-Mississippi Commander J.C. Hanna. He's already got it worked out. It is going to be on April 6th in Mansfield, Louisiana. So, yes, sir.
Let's just make sure everyone knows where Mansfield is. And because, I'm from Louisiana, of course I know where Mansfield is. But the Battle of Mansfield, it's about, it's about an hour and a half drive south of Shreveport. Shreveport is up in the northwest part of Louisiana. Those of us down here in South Louisiana say that Shreveport is the capital of East Texas, but it's right on the Texas border. But at any rate, it's an easy drive from Shreveport down. It's going to be a great day. That was probably the last hurrah, great victory of the Confederacy and the Trans-Mississippi. A major victory. That's where the I started to say DAMN Yankees, who had surrendered and put their arms down, and they were taken as prisoners of war. When they saw General Mouton riding by, they rushed over, grabbed their rifles, and assassinated General Mouton. And of course, they were filled full of Confederate lead as a reward, but nonetheless, and that's where General Napoleon took over, who was Prince from France, and led the Mouton's army on to victory there with Richard Taylor. So it's a great battle scene. It's on the battlefield. It's going to be a great day, and I really encourage everyone to come by. If you're not familiar with the Red River campaign, if you're not familiar with that great Battle of Mansfield, where we really whooped up on the Yanks, sent them scurrying back to Pleasant Hill, and then hit them again the next day at Pleasant Hill, and pushed them on down to Alexandria, Louisiana. And old Banks was so aggravated with his loss that he ended up burning Alexander to the ground. Had absolutely no military importance. It was just a terrorist act, which is so typical of the Yankees. And I'm going on too much about the Battle of Mansfield and Louisiana. But anyway, everyone come. I hope you'll make a special effort. I know we get a lot of folks from Texas over, from Arkansas down, Oklahoma, of course, Louisiana and Mississippi, but make plans. There's plenty of places to stay, nice hotels in Shreveport, Bossier City, more likely, but nonetheless, and a few hotels there in Mansfield. So if you're planning on staying, get a hold of J.C. Hanna. He can give you plenty of information about it.
Yes, sir. I know there's going to be some more information coming out about it. And I do want to thank JC. As soon as I brought it up, JC just jumped on this because JC and I talked about the numbers being down for the pilgrimage and homecoming. Almost on that Saturday night, him and I were talking about it. So, we'll come up with this idea, and he jumped right on it. April 6th, Mansfield, Louisiana. Some more information will be coming up about that. This is a save the date time. Now, the Army of Tennessee, Commander Jimmy Hill, him and I talked today. We talked yesterday and we talked today. Today we talked about this event. And I don't want to say what it's going to do because I don't want to jinx him. I know what he's looking at, and if he can do what he is looking at doing, it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be something that we're going to want to do. And I really hope it turns out. I know that he's in the process of working with some people to make it happen. And Jimmy, thank you for that. That's something else that, looks like Jimmy Hill. I'm already filling up him and Carl's schedule for next Thursday. It is unintentional, but giving you a few things to talk about. The Army of Northern Virginia, I have talked with Kevin Stone and with Kenny Ramsey both. And we're looking at a spot in Virginia that's all being worked out right now as well. But I wanted to let everybody know that this is what we're doing. We're taking going into the armies and creating national events that we can try to pull, take national events out to the Army and then try to support and work with the armies as much as we can. That way we can bring in brigades and divisions and make something out of it. Now, before we get into the next thing, I am curious if we want to take a Pop-Tart break, because it is now 7:36. And when we come back, if we take the Pop-Tart break, and I'm going to let Mr. Kennedy decide if we're going to or not. If we take the Pop-Tart break, we're going to come back, and I want to hear about when we're going to be rolling out this stuff with the polls and all of that. Do you mind talking about that when we come back?
I think, it's hard to get a Kennedy to say a word, but I guess I will. You know how shy and bashful I am. Moose, if you get a chance, cue you up for a Pop-Tart break. I did want to say, I saw that Richard Garcia, and here I go back talking about the Battle of Mansfield again, but Richard Garcia put in that he says, my ancestor, Captain, I'll get this wrong, Jose Rafael de la Garcia was killed leading a charge at the Battle of Mansfield. So, Richard, I hope you can make the Battle of the day at Mansfield. I'd love to shake your hand. You've done some great stuff for the SCV. We appreciate it. And, Moose, do you have our Pop-Tart break queued up?
Yes, sir, I do. And tonight's Pop-Tart break is, of course, sponsored by the Kennedy twins' newest book, Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government. Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government is how Jefferson Davis was a leader in the high road to emancipation. He looked for a day when slaves would be prepared to live and participate in society. He did more, though, than advocate for this high road to emancipation. He practiced his beliefs in the ultimate emancipation of Southern slaves. And many of his former slaves left for prosperity in their testimony about their former master, who prepared them to be self-sustaining members of society. You can get the Kennedy twins' newest book, Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government, at www.kennedytwins.com and most online bookstores, including scv.org, and visit bovois.org. We want to thank the Kennedy twins for sponsoring tonight's Pop-Tart break, and we will be right back with the commander's comments after this Pop-Tart break.
There is a place nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost, stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
One more time, we want to thank the Kennedy twins for sponsoring tonight's Pop-Tart break with their newest book, Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government. You can get this book at www.kennedytwins.com and most online bookstores, including www.scv.org and www.visitbeauvoir.org. Link is in the chat for any further information.
All right. Thank you, Moose. We appreciate that. And Commander, you asked me to talk a little bit about the poll results. And this is something Donald and I have been sitting on for a long time, longer than we wanted to. But the enemy attacked us in Arlington, and we did not want to send out a lot of this information and get too much going at one time. And we've had a lot of information sent out on the Telegraph, and I've sent stuff out on Constant Contact about Arlington. But I think we're sort of at a point where we won't be sending out too much more in the near future. Now, you're still going to get more. The fight is not over. It's just not at a point where we can do anything other than make use of the one clicks that's already been sent out. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But, the National SCV paid for two surveys, opinion polls, National Legitimate Opinion Poll Survey Company. One of them to look at the people across America. Basically we were asking, do you think Confederate monuments should be taken down, or do you think we should keep those monuments? And even in a national survey, well over 55 to 60% of Americans, not just Southerners, but we're talking about people in California and Illinois and even a few in Massachusetts even said, no, keep those monuments. That's part of our history. There's no reason to tear them down. And I think people are sort of getting the idea that, yes, we were the low-hanging fruit. And once they started pulling these down, it set the precedent to pull down monuments to Lewis and Clark, Christopher Columbus. I think they even pulled down one of Abraham Lincoln, of all things. I mean, it's just the crazies out there. But we had that result. And then once we got that, we said, look, we need to find out what the conservative people of the South think about this and whether or not they think our politicians need to do more to protect our heritage. So that survey was sent to, and I put in quotation, conservatives. That is, the best marker we had was registered Republicans. And we won't get into the discussion about whether or not they are really conservatives or not, but much more so than the Democrats, of course. So that poll went out, and it came back just a terrific, anywhere from 83 to 95% of the respondents in every state said, yes, we want our politicians to protect our Confederate heritage, our monuments. We want them to do more to protect all traditional American values. So that poll results has been in. We've got it. So we are now, and I think I was talking to the Commander-in-Chief, and he says that maybe next week, about the middle of next week, would be a good time for me to start sending it out to the division commanders and to each division commander. And let's just take, who's the division commander of Tennessee?
Joey Nolan.
All right. Mr. Nolan's going to get an email from me with the poll results from Tennessee. So he'll have the complete poll results from Tennessee. Now, he may be curious about Louisiana, but that's not in his wheelhouse. He's working with Tennessee, and I'm asking him to send a copy of that email to every camp commander, and if possible, every adjutant in each camp. Get this information down to the camp level, and we'll have a little about 5-line little short paragraph that you can copy and email to every one of your elected officials in the local area, telling them about the vast majority of the people who elected you. Now, you send these to the quote conservatives. So you got Republicans, or if you've got a moderate to conservative Democrat that you think's a friend that can work with you, send it to him or her. But let them know that the vast majority of the voters want you to protect our monuments. So when the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter people come to, say, the town council and says, hey, I want you to get rid of that monument, well, every one of those, quote, conservatives will have already been put on notice that, number one, the majority of the conservative voters in the South, in my state, in Tennessee, they want us to preserve these monuments. And number two, they'll be put on notice that, hey, there's a bunch of people called Sons of Confederate Veterans. They're organized and they're fighting the good fight. And we just don't want to get involved in a fight with them, because that's not good for re-election, to get involved in a controversy. So let's just put that motion on the back burner and let it die. Null process that one. So that's the whole idea behind it. It doesn't do any good in the world to run these polls and to get the results and pat each other on the back and say, see how good we're doing, if you don't take that and send it out to the local level. Remember, the camp at the local level. If we win this fight, and we'll win this fight if the camps will do things like this. And I know it's not as much fun as having a barbecue or going out and cleaning tombstones and doing a bike ride up and down the road with Confederate flags flying. I know it's not as much fun, but it's much, much, much more important to get this information out to the local, quote, conservative elected leaders in your area. And I think I've pontificated enough on that. You want to talk a little bit about the one click?
Oh, yes, sir. I'll talk about that. And piggybacking off what Mr. Kennedy said, referring to the Kaplan poll, 60% for it, 23, take them down, 17, undecided. Now, we know how the question was phrased, and that's one of the things you'll get in this is what question was asked and how it was asked. And the way it was asked, this was the answer that, and the 17% are actually going to be no's. And this is something that Ed Phillip and I talked about, and it was talked about on Monday, because they're not going to say anything that's going to be controversial. It could be in this. So I don't know. I'm undecided. Instead of going, no, I want to, I think they ought to be left alone, because we all know that the easiest answer is going to be, oh yes, take them down, because that's the most socially acceptable answer. So with the nature of the question and how it was asked, that number we're saying is 60%, but it's more like in the mid 70s, because
that's the national poll.
Yes, that's the national poll.
That's not the Southern poll.
No, sir, that's the national poll. Remember, there was only 23% that said they wanted them down, and then you had 17%. They're going to say they're undecided, and an undecided, if you look at the nature of the question when you get this, the undecided is a majority of them, a vast majority of them were no's. They're just not going to say anything offensive, say anything harmful, afraid it'll pop up somewhere on social media and they'll lose their jobs, something like that. But that 17%, a majority of them are actually leave them alone. So that 60% is 75%. Now, that's what Ed Phillips and I have been talking about. But getting on to what we were talking about with what just went out. This went out mid-afternoon on Tuesday. And there's a particular reason for some of the insanity. I think it's probably crazy stuff we do. Most people are on social media making posts in the afternoons, early afternoons on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's when the vast majority of people are on there. So that is the reason why a lot of this stuff hits you at that time of day. But you had something that come out on the Telegraph, and it was talked about on SCV Chat. It talked about Monday night, and it was released mid-afternoon on Tuesday. We're now 48 hours into this, and this was where we were asking. There were links, 4 links. There's 4 different committees out there, 2 in the House and 2 in the Senate, and they're both. One of them is the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee and an Armed Services Committee. So there were 4 committees, same names, but in the Senate and in the House. So we asked our members, and we put letters in there. Now, some people said they were able to print the letters. Some have said that they couldn't. You can copy and paste it out of there if you wanted to mail it. If you are going to be asking for a copy that you would like to mail, you can contact us. But we're not going to send that letter out right now to everybody, because you can copy it and you can do this, because we need to get the poll information out. Because if you read the letters, we talk about the poll information. So we need our members out there to have this data in their hand, because what went out the weekend before that was having to deal with Arlington National Cemetery and making comments on that mentioned the poll in it as well. Now we need to have our membership with these numbers in their hands, so they can now approach their politicians, their local politicians, and get involved, as Mr. Kennedy has said here. Now, this went out. I'm sitting here looking at the numbers now. Now, I cannot see who all has done it, but I can see how many have been done. On the Senate side, now, right now, we're 48 hours plus. We are +2, is what I'm going to call it. We're +2. On the Senate side, the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, 403 have been sent out. On the Armed Services Committee, 501 have been sent out. On the House side, the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, 389. And on the Armed Services Committee, 397. When it went out on the Telegraph, Adam said we were nearly 17,000 emails this went out to. 17,000 emails had these 4 links in there. The highest number we have is to the Senate Armed Services Committee with 501. Now remember, we're +2. We're 48 hours plus into this. The lowest number we have is to the House Defense Appropriations Subcommittee at 389. We have this isn't the end of it. You can keep making these comments. You can keep getting on these links and sending them out there. But we need these numbers in the thousands. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you why. Back in June, we sent something to Mike Rogers, the Armed Services Committee chairman. We did that back in June of this year. 2,378 people responded and did something, sent this. 2,378. We need that kind of response from each of these 4 links. We need 2,000 plus from each of these 4 links. If we want to do something real nice, we could say we want to set our goal for 2,500, and all of a sudden they've got 10,000 letters from us up there, emails from us stating this. Now, when we come on and we talked about it Monday night, we said, well, there's no time limit. When we sent the thing for the Arlington National Cemetery, it had to be in by 11:59 on September 2nd, Eastern Standard Time. So there was a time frame, a drop dead. This isn't the case with this, so we can continue to do it. But please, guys, let's not dilly-dally. Let's not wait to the 11th hour like we do when we pay our dues. And let's go ahead and get some of this stuff out there and be proactive with this. Because I get asked two questions. For a long time, the question of when are you going to bury Forrest? Then the next question become, and I was asked the weekend before he was even in the ground, when are you going to put the equestrian statue back up? Now, the two questions I get right now are, when is the equestrian statue going back up? And what are you doing about Arlington? Now, I have had more conversations with attorneys. I got a call from Arlington National Cemetery, and I had to make a committee appointment of Ed Phillips to that committee, and he's going to have a seat at the table. So the Sons of Confederate Veterans are going to have a seat at the table for Arlington National Cemetery, talking about this, figuring out about this. And so we have a voice. We have a voice based off what we've already done. And they know about us. They know us by name. I was contacted on my cell phone by a colonel that worked at Arlington National Cemetery. So they know us. She knew me by name. She had to introduce herself to me. And when I got her name, I had heard her name. And I can tell you she was very nice, very polite, but extremely businesslike. Just boom. So we have Ed Phillips on this committee. But we need these letters. We need more people doing it. And please don't wait till the last minute. Yes, sir.
Well, I just see before Roy Hudson. Hey, Roy, CIC, this is your question to you. Okay, he's got it here on the screen. We're getting a lot of questions on who we are to send the letters we print to.
Okay.
You have to clarify who they send the letters to. Thank you.
Okay. Now, when we were talking about doing this, when you send these, when you follow the one-click link and you make that, you're sending an email. That's our volume. That is the reason why we say we need as many people as this, and we need 2,000 of all of these 4 links. We need at least 2,000 of those. Now, as far as mailing the letters, those are impacts. If you remember, were you in the room or on the meeting when we were talking to One Click Politics people about the different impacts of emails versus videos versus letters? And they said that letters have a huge impact. Now, they have their biggest impact if they come from, I'm going to call them a local constituent. Okay. Yeah. Let's just say on any of these 4 committees, and you can look up these committees. If you can't, I can send links and you can look up and see who's the people that are on these committees. If these people that are on this committee, I know, and Roy Hudson is from Florida. Let's just say that they have a Florida guy on one of these committees. Print the letter and mail it to him, because it's going to be coming from somebody that is in his state.
And look, let's suppose the representative is not in Roy's district. That doesn't matter. He's from Florida and he's got big political ambition, so he wants to keep Floridians happy. So it'd be better if it was from one of his actual, district constituents. But if he's from Florida, send it. And it doesn't matter if you're not in his district. It does have a political impact.
And I'm just going to use an example of what I did. This is what I did. Mitch McConnell is on one of these committees, and we're not going to get into the freezing up deal right now. The Mitch McConnell is a neighboring state. Okay. With him being a neighboring state, we figure if you do it in your state, somebody's in your if the senator or the House representative in your state, mail them a letter. But we also figured, what if somebody doesn't, and you can get somebody from a neighboring state? So what I did was I mailed the letter, and because I had it in Word document, and I put that, even though I mailed it, you can put who all you're going to be mailing copies to. Right. So even though I sent it a copy to Mitch McConnell, there is also, and yes, I had to print it out, sign it, put a stamp on it, but I sent it to my representative, my Senate representative here from the state of Tennessee. So I sent it to them as well. So when they see this letter, Mitch McConnell is going to, I don't know if he'll ever see it or not, probably not, but it'll be somebody's going to be looking at this letter, and they're going to go, okay, well, he sent it to this, and he also sent it to his representative. Now, we could say, well, send them to everybody on the committee, and you can. You can send it to everybody on this list, but you're looking at, I want to say you're around 86 people. So that means you'd be printing 86 letters and mailing 86 letters. And you could do that if you wanted to. And that would make a huge impact. But figure just for impact's sake, to keep from burdening our membership anymore, then if we get them to do, send these emails out, that's our volume. And if somebody's from your state or your neighboring state, do that, mail to them. That was our thought. Now, so if you look at anybody on these committees, and if anybody needs it, put I've seen the link out there and in the chat on numerous things where you can find your senator, and you can find the people that's on these committees. But if anybody needs that, send the question to SCV chat. We'll get the information to SCV chat, and all you'd have to do is follow the link. And if you wanted to, you could mail to all of them. Now, there was one more that we figured would be more impactful, was that if you had somebody who was on one of these committees that is your boss, that is your representative, that is your senator, and you are they directly represent you. What if you were to drop that by their local office? Because all of these have a local office. Mm-hmm. What if you didn't mail it? You dropped it off. You put it in an envelope, put your name and address and contact information on it, and went to the home office and, somewhere, let's say that one was from Columbia, Tennessee. I could walk up to the one in Columbia, Tennessee and put it in there, and they would get it. Now, to me, you have to think, which one are you able to do? Mm-hmm. Which one do you want to do? If you want to print nearly 90 letters and mail them, sign them and mail them, hallelujah. Thank you. Because you're going to do
make it a count project.
Yes.
I mean, there's just a lot of ways that we can do this, but the main thing is to be involved.
Yes.
So often we have people say, well, what are y'all doing about saving our money?
Yeah.
That's not what we are doing. There's a limited amount that headquarters can do, but there's virtually an unlimited amount that our members can do, and it doesn't cost anything. Sending emails doesn't cost anything. Making telephone calls doesn't. Especially now, used to it cost you a long distance call, but it don't do that now. Mm-hmm. I mean, so there's so much that we can do.
And I'm gonna go to camp meeting. I'm gonna have letters printed out and just get guys to sign the name. Okay, so you go and you buy a roll of stamps. And if you mail 100 letters, you've done your part and then some. Make it a count project. And all of us can take and send these links out to people that we know. All of us have friends and relatives, and we can send stuff out to them and do that as well. If you have 3 friends or 10 friends, send it to them and say, hey, how do you feel about this? And chances are they're going to feel the way you do.
That's right.
And then just ask them to follow the link. Somebody asks, well, what do we want to send this outside of our organization? Absolutely. I mean, yes, send it to UDC, send it to OCR. You know, if a husband and wife, he's SCV, she's OCR, he needs to be sending it and she needs to be sending it, you know, and, you know, just put your own names on it. It's the same address, just different name. And then send it to your mamas and your grandparents and your grandkids, you know, you can get this out to everybody.
Commander, we're at an hour and 5 minutes. What else we got on our agenda for tonight? Because I know people are wanting to get to their supper if they haven't already had supper, or get to bed.
I can make this very, very quick.
All right.
The one thing that and I think you and I talked about this, having a heritage person from each division.
Yes.
Would you like to say a quick word about that? Because that was actually your idea, which I fully endorse.
Yeah, and we really need to push this. When we have things like one-click politics, or like what I'm sending out next week, I'll send it to the division commander. But if the division has, and some divisions have heritage officers for the division, I just don't know them. So if I can get a list or a contact with the heritage officers, then when I send stuff out, I can call the heritage officer and say, look, this is going out. Can you get this to all the other camps? Make sure they understand this is a key part of heritage promotion. We need to get this done. And again, it's not as much fun as going out and cleaning tombstones and you know, waving flags or listening to a great lecture on the Red River campaign. I'm stuck on the Red River campaign. But anyway, it's not as much, I admit, but this is part of the battle that we've got to do. We've got to take part of it. So anyway, I'm urging all division commanders, if you don't have someone as a division heritage promotion officer, make that appointment and get their name and contact information to me. And we'll be having some Zoom meetings of the heritage folks around the Confederation so we can see what everybody's doing and get some good ideas.
Very good. And thank you for that. I think that's a great idea. We all need to pull together and we all need to work together. Earlier, when we started the program, we talked about the SCV Relief Fund. If you want to contribute to that, you can contribute to that. There's different things that you can contribute to within the Sons of Confederate Veterans. And one of them is the SCV Relief Fund. Another one is the Heritage Defense Fund. If you believe these legal fights that we're in, like the Arlington, you know, that it's going to take a little bit of money to get into the fight. And if that's something that you believe in and something you wish to support, you know, again, you can follow scv.org and you can go to the Heritage Defense Fund and you can donate to that. You can support what you want to in this organization, whatever is important for you to.
That's right.
You know, that's the thing about this organization. If you want to clean tombstones, there's groups out there that they love to clean tombstones. Work with them.
And you can get a certificate on how to do it right. I mean, yes, that's a great thing. We need to have, we probably need to do some training on that too, because I know we've had people do it where you can train them, know how to clean it right. And then as an SCV member, you can go to the American Legion, a VFW, or many other local organizations. Say, hey, you've got tombstones that need to be cleaned. I'm with the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Let me give your folks a class on how to do it without harming the tombstone. Hey, that's a great way to network with the community.
Yes. And you can, and thank you for talking about it. No, I love it because it's so true. This is the only organization that I've ever been part of that you can participate on any level that you wish to participate on whatever project that is important to you. If it's cleaning tombstones and rehabbing old grown up cemeteries, brother, we need you. Sister, we need you. If you think, you know what, I can't do that, but you know what? I've got a cousin that lives down in Florida. I'm going to contribute to the SCV Relief Fund, you know, to help out my brother down there. That kind of stuff. Whatever is important to you. And then there's the Heritage Defense Fund, because there's a lot of people that say, well, this is important to me. Saving these monuments is important to me. Saving these memorials is important to me. Protecting our heritage is important. This is going to be legal fights. And the Heritage Defense Fund is the money cog in that wheel. So if that's something that you believe in and you wish to contribute to it, it's there for you to be able to. SCV National Reunion, July 16th through the 21st, Charleston, South Carolina, 2024. I had a conversation, text message deal with Rick Little. Now, I got on here a little while back and said that they were almost sold out on rooms. And this is what he told me today. The host hotel is almost full. So there might be a few rooms open. If anybody is looking, there might be a few rooms open. There's plenty of room available at the Satellite Hotel, which is right across the door at the North Charleston Coliseum. So there's plenty of room in the satellite hotels, but there's only a few rooms left within the host hotel. Now, he also added this tidbit in there, and I'm going to read it as he presented it to me because I told him I would. To my friends in the Florida Division, I have added a harbor cruise on Saturday night as an alternative to the Grand Ball. The harbor tour is limited to 125 passengers, so sign up early before it sells out. Now, he said that to the friends in the Florida Division, but this is to let everybody else know they have added a harbor cruise on Saturday night. There's a lot of people that don't want to go to the balls. And what we've kind of watched the crowds and found out is there's not a lot of hotel rooms are being held on Saturday night because they'll stay, let's say they stay Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Friday night. And after the business session on Saturday, because they're not going to the ball, they light a shuck and head to the house. Now, so what can we do because they don't want to go to the ball? So they've come up with this harbor cruise here. And this is actually a very good deal. I know some people don't want to go to balls. I get it. And, here's a harbor cruise. And even though he said to the Florida Division, 125 seats, you might want to jump on that quick. Get on there and register. It's on the SCV4 website. And the secession camp, their SCV camp number 4. So go to their website, get it downloaded. You can also download it off scv.org. And to give everybody a brief update on what I'm going to be doing coming up, and I'd like for Mr. Kennedy to do this as well, here in the month of September. I'm going to be this weekend down at the Rankin Grays camp down in Mississippi. And then on Tuesday night, September the 12th, I am going to be at the private William Riley Milton camp in Florida, camp number 741. And I want to thank both of those camps for inviting me to come down and to speak. I have an event on the 16th. Actually, I'm trying to work in 2 events on the 16th. And I just realized that I didn't finish writing everything down. I'm going to be in Blairsville, Georgia on the weekend of the 23rd. And then I'm going to be in Frederick, Maryland for the Order of Southern Cross the last weekend of the month. And then that takes me all the way up to the first part of next month. I'm going to get to do something very fun because I'm going to be in Frederick, Maryland. I'm going to go speak at the, and I'm probably not saying the name right, it's Midlothian, Virginia camp. That is just a few miles from Arlington. So that's going to be on Tuesday night, October 3rd. So I'm going to get in a trip to go see Arlington and go to the Confederate Memorial there. Right. And then I'll be home and we'll have the GEC meeting the next weekend.
I see the Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief put in the post here that he said, I believe you'll be in Monroe, talking to you, Commander-in-Chief, in Monroe, West Monroe in October. Is that correct? If you got that on your calendar, because they're counting on you being there sometime in October.
Oh yes, that's going to be on October 10th. Yeah. I talked to Dr. Sandy Mitchum about that.
Okay.
So good. Yes, good. I'll be there. All yes, right. Sir. Terrific. Yes, sir. I'll be there on October 10th.
you say anybody who wants to be commander-in-chief had better have a lot of travel time ready for it, because you're going to stay on the road. And it's just a major part of the responsibility. I know past Commander-in-Chief McClooney and past Commander-in-Chief Paul Gramblin, both of them were on the road a lot. And I've watched and worked with Commander Boshers, and he is always, usually when I call him, he's on the road going somewhere. He has to talk to me while he's driving.
Well, it's the job. It's just flat out the job. People say, well, what is this job like? Well, every morning you wake up to find out what you're going to be doing for the day, because you can make plans, but generally sometime during the night or during the first part of the day, your plans kind of get swiped out from under you. And then you're working on whatever project you need to be working on. And then the rest of it is talking to membership, and then going and visiting. It is all part of the job. And, if you treat it, if you don't treat it like a job, you treat it like a position.
It's not working. All right. Well, we have gone, let's see, an hour and 15 minutes. You got anything else you want to add, Commander?
No, sir. Do you, sir? Turn the floor over. It's yours.
Well, I just have one thing I wanted to, and this is one of the reasons why I want to try to get a hold of division heritage operations officers for each division. And I saw someone from Tennessee said that they were there. Moose, if you can you put the Confederate Legion website, I'm sorry, email address, Confederate Legion at Reagan.org. If you have that, put that up. Anyone who is currently the division heritage operation person, send me an email, put in the subject line, if it's from Tennessee Heritage Operations person, and that way I can pull that and I'll file it and I'll get a hold of you, and we'll get together talking about a Zoom meeting that we can set up with as many. And if you're a division commander and you don't yet have someone appointed, find someone who's willing to do the job, willing to work, who wants to be involved with heritage promotion, appoint him and let me know. Send it to the Confederate Legion at Reagan.com. And be sure you put in the subject line, state, say if it's Louisiana Heritage Heritage Promotion Officer, and give me your name, phone number, and email address, so I can get, and your actual snail mail address, so I'll know whether or not you're in South Louisiana, North Louisiana, West Louisiana, down on the Gulf Coast fishing, wherever you live. Let me know, so I can I'll know that way if I'm planning a trip, maybe or speaking engagement, I can get a hold of you. Now, one thing I have a plan I want to try, and I've been talking to the Commander-in-Chief about, and the Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief, and I want to have something special for April 2024, Confederate History Month. And really what I'm thinking of doing is using this as an opportunity for all of us, say the camp in my camp here in Mandeville, to get together, put our SCV logo shirt on, button down collar, look nice, and go in as a group to visit our U.S. representative and our U.S. senator, visit them, give them a copy of the Commander-in-Chief's proclamation of April being Confederate History Month, and also give them a ticket, a free ticket to them and to one or two of their staff members to the Confederate Museum. The ticket has the QR code. We're working on getting that done, aren't we?
Yes.
So that if they don't go to the museum, which, not too many people they may be going to Nashville, they'll drop down. But if not, there'll certainly be a good chance of them looking at that QR code. But that's the whole idea. It's it's going to be a great opportunity for us to make an impact with these national politicians. And it's all got to be done on the same day, approximately the same time. So imagine the impact if every conservative senator and representative from the South got a hello, I'm with the Sons of Confederate Veterans. You may want to do it as a brigade. We're the 39th Brigade. We got 4, 5, 6, 7 camps in your district, and we're here to give you this proclamation that our Commander-in-Chief has done about April being Confederate History Month. And of course, you're there dressed nice. You look as a well, you present the organization well. And, you know, if you've got 15, 20 or 30 people there, they can't ignore you. It'll be a great impact across the South. And I think it'll be and of course, we'll get pictures, and we'll send pictures to the representative or the senator, and we'll also put it on our social media, and we'll also send it to our SCV friendly newspapers across the South, and we'll talk about that on the next one. Other than that, Commander-in-Chief, we appreciate you spending an hour and what is it now? An hour and 20 minutes almost with us on this program.
It's been my honor.
We've got a lot going. The SCV has got a lot going on. I had some stuff I wanted to go over, but we'll save that for next time. I did want to say, Donald wanted to let everybody know, and I saw that 1 or 2 other people also put in the comments that they used the one-click politics. Donald said he got a response back from his representative, several other people, and I'm sorry, your name is now gone from the comment section, but I did see several people say they sent theirs and they got a comment back, a response back from their representative. So it's so very important. We've got to make ourselves known as the source of information for Southern heritage. We're the Sons of Confederate Veterans, and we are actively defending the cause. With that, everyone, stay Southern. Moose, take it over.